Good morning. Good morning. I hope you are having a fabulous morning. It is Wellness Wednesday. Happy Wellness Wednesday. If you are just stumbling on my page, my name is Donna. I'm a mom, a nana, a wellness advocate. I am a grad school student studying for my Master of Science in Clinical Mental Health Counseling. And I have been in a lifelong journey with anxiety and depression, which is why I started this page, because I learned very quickly that I learn a lot from other people sharing their experiences, and that others have learned from me sharing mine. So I started this Wellness Wednesday with the intent of sharing and encouraging you to share with me. You can, anytime I'm live, even afterwards, you can ask a question or make a comment in the comments. And if Facebook shows it to me while I'm on, I will respond. If not, I will definitely respond afterwards. So if you're here, don't be afraid to say hi, ask a question, make a comment, share your own tips that are relevant to the topic today. And hopefully together we can help others that happen to be scrolling and stop in as well. With that said, wellness is a broad topic. It can cover a lot of things. It's a big umbrella, right? So sometimes we really dig in. A lot of times it's with mindset. Sometimes it's with concepts, and every once in a while we got to lighten it up like we're going to do today. So, but still very important to wellness. So again, if you're here, let me know you're here, say hi. And if you don't see this till afterwards, you can still drop a comment, ask a question, just hit hashtag replay, whatever, so that I know you saw it and that we can continue to engage on today's topic, which I think will be a little bit of fun. So, last week we talked about service and volunteering and how that can actually help you be more well, and improve your wellness. It benefits others, it benefits you, and it even benefits the children that you are doing it with or watching. Meaning the children that are watching when you serve. And what we mean by that is serving the community, serving in a volunteer format. But since school is out for the summer, today I decided I wanted to talk about a handful of my favorite movies that are great good family films, great family films with some excellent messages. And these are ones that you can watch with or without the kids. Now, as you watch, you may know some of these. You probably do. If you haven't seen them, you may have heard of them. Some of these are older, of course, because they're some of my personal faves. But a lot of times when we remember these movies, if we haven't seen them in a while, we don't think about movies always in terms of the message that they send. I can't say that I'm the same way, because I'm always looking for a message in a movie, right? I'm always looking for some type of meaning, some type of way that a movie resonates with me. But with school being out for the summer, it's hot. At least I'm in Florida. It's been super hot already, more so than usual in June. Thank goodness we're finally getting into a rainy weather pattern, which helps keep things a little cooler. So last year around this time, I did a summer safety video. I may do that again this summer. But if you want to see it, if you are looking for those summer tips to help keep you safe in the heat, let me know. I'll find the video and drop the link in the comments. If you didn't see last week's and you would like to, again, same thing. But all the videos are always on my page. You can go to the videos tab on my Facebook page and see all the videos there. Watch them at your leisure. And if you follow me, then you should get notifications when I'm going live, which is 7:15-ish every Wednesday morning. So let's get started. School's out for the summer, handful of favorite movies. I did this at Christmas time, some wellness message from Christmas movies, and it was a lot of fun. So I thought, let's do this again. So the first one up, these are 5 of my favorites, all movies that I have watched, except for one, recently with my grandchildren, who are, they're in between 7 and 8. One's on the cusp of turning 8, and the other one will be 8 in a few months. And these are movies I would absolutely watch again with them. And before, I will disclaimer this with any movie that I suggest. If you're not sure, I highly recommend that if you haven't seen it before, you go ahead and watch it for yourself and determine if you think it's appropriate. Everything I chose is a PG rating or lower. And these are movies that I truly feel, and believe me, I could have gone on about this all day. There's a lot of fabulous movies out there. But these are the ones that I chose in particular that I felt had good messages and that I've watched recently with my grandkids, like I said, except for one. But I encourage you as you listen, if there's a message you can think of from a movie that I mention that I don't mention that particular message, feel free to share. And if you have another one that you think is fabulous, please feel free to drop it in the comments. So here we go. First things first. Now this one's an old one. This is actually from the year my daughter was born, which is 1993. And she loved it as a child, and I watched it last summer with my grandson, and he absolutely adored it too. And I think at that point my daughter had forgotten the movie existed until I mentioned it. So we may find that to be the case here as well. Homeward Bound, 1993. It was actually Homeward Bound, The Incredible Journey. And the basic synopsis, if you haven't seen it, I don't want to spoil anything, but the basic synopsis is 3 lost animals find their way home, becoming great friends in the process and learning to rely on each other. If that's not a message in of itself, I don't know what is. This one is rated G, and there's a page, and apparently you have to have a subscription because it would only let me play with it for so long. But if you do watch a lot of movies with your kids or you're concerned, it may be worth checking into. It's called Common Sense Media, and Common Sense Media rates this as age 6+, and says it's perfect for the age. Another source says it's perfect for the 5 to 8 age bracket. So Homeward Bound teaches the importance of family. It teaches the importance of teamwork. There's a huge loyalty, courage, and perseverance theme as these animals encounter challenges and barriers while they're trying to get home. And there's some other important lessons from each of the characters. And like I said, I don't want to go into too much detail. If by some odd chance you haven't seen it, it has been around a while. I mean, so 1993 means today it's about 31 years old. So it's been around a while. So if you're a little bit younger than me, you may not have heard of it, or you may have heard of it and never seen it. If you're around my age and you had children around the age of my daughter, then you probably have seen it multiple times. And if you're older than that, you may have never watched it because you thought it was a kid's movie. And I have a secret for you. A lot of people that I know don't, they don't want to go to the theater to see a cartoon or watch an animated movie if they don't have kids, which I think is a huge mistake because there are some fabulous animated films out there. Homeward Bound was not animated. It was a live action film, but a lot of people are still like, oh, I don't have any kids. I haven't seen that. And you're really missing out if you decide you don't want to watch a movie that looks cute. Good morning, Miss Susan, because you don't have children. So Homeward Bound teaches the importance of family, teamwork, loyalty, courage, and perseverance. One of the characters really kind of grows up during the film and learns to appreciate what he has and not to take anything for granted. There is another character there that is more like the wise elder, who is also the epitome of man's best friend. I mean, I did say it was animals, so I'm not spoiling anything there. And what it means to love and protect the people or animals that he loves. And then the final character is loyal and reliable. She's a pistol. She's very sassy, but even though she's a little rough around the edges, she's very soft on the inside and fiercely loyal. So each one of the main characters in this movie have things that you can really, really learn from, that kids can learn from. The younger kids that are under 5 can probably enjoy this movie for the sake of the animals. But the 5 to 8 age range, I mean, my grandson absolutely loved it. And it had been so long since I had seen Homeward Bound, The Incredible Journey, that I had forgotten just how fabulous the movie really was. And my grown self was sitting on the couch just crying like a baby at the end of it. Not because it was sad, but because it was uplifting and because it just really touched me. So fabulous, fabulous movie. If you're a kid that ever had an animal disappear and then make its way back to you 3 to 6 months later, then you'll understand the premise there too. Now, for adults, if you're an adult, why would you want to watch this movie when I just said that it's perfect for the 5 to 8 age bracket? Now, teenagers with this one, they may or may not. Again, you know your child best. But for adults, these are real animals and they're not moving their mouths. There's no there's no special effects. I'm not even going to try to say it. There's no special effects there that make it look like they're talking. This is legit. Whatever's going on, the narration, their voices, it's going on in their heads, so to speak. We can hear it. There's no words on the screen, but it's clearly the animals. There's some great cast members, well-known cast members that do the voices for these animals. And it's just, again, as far as adult appeal is concerned, they're real animals that don't move their mouths. There's some great scenery there, great humor. Some of it, it's not, like I said, this is rated G. So I guess the one of the biggest things for an adult, besides the fact that it's just simply heartwarming, is it will remind you that it is possible to make movies that have a message and are fabulous, fabulous films as far as content that don't have really much in the way of violence, no language, no sex, no none of that. It's just a good, clean, wholesome family film. If you haven't seen it or you haven't seen it in a long time, it's definitely worth sitting down to watch with your kids, your grandkids, whatever. I don't think there's anything here that would raise a flag for me in terms of children. It's definitely one of those movies that you watch and as an adult you go, oh my gosh, it's so clean, it's so wholesome, it's unbelievable. We made movies like this, right? So Homeward Bound: The Incredible Journey, 1993. There was a second one too. Not going to get into that, but definitely worth checking out. Like I said, if you haven't seen it, if your child, grandchild, niece, nephew hasn't seen it, or if you haven't seen it in a while. So again, a great movie. Even if you don't have children, you can still watch it. Shh, I won't tell anybody. All right, so second up, this is a fairly new one, but I wanted to make sure I got... This one's rated PG for rude or suggestive material and some language, but listen, you can't, if there's a G side of PG, this one is it. This is fairly new and it's called Leo. It came out in 2023. And the basic synopsis is it's a class pet that learns he has a year to live and tries to escape to fulfill his wild bucket list while he still has time. It is, like I said, rated PG for rude, suggestive material in some language. I don't have a Common Sense Media rating on here, so I've looked at it and forgot to put it down. I recently watched this with both of my grandchildren. They loved it. It's adorable. So again, I cannot stress enough, just because it's animated doesn't mean you can't watch it if you don't have kids, because there's some humor some good humor. It's fairly clean. That we can appreciate as adults. If there is anything in there that's like this rude or suggestive material that the rating talks about, if it's a young child, they're not going to get it. If it's a 7, 8 years old, not going to get it. But the adults can appreciate some of that. That's one of the things I've always loved about cartoons, animated films is they, way back when, cartoons, I believe, were originally made for adults. But a lot of times the material, if there is any kind of, should we say adult humor, if it's designed to be a family movie, the adult humor is very latent, subliminal. I'm not finding the word I'm looking for, but you get the drift. And most of the time, unless you're watching it with an older child, that it's been exposed to that kind of material, it's going to go right over their head. So anyway, again, Leo teaches about the importance of learning from intergenerational relationships, which I think is something that our children really need to receive a strong message on right now, because there's so much going on with the elderly community, and we tend to forget that they are the wisest. It's important for children to learn to respect their elders to a degree, not necessarily just implicitly. We know that can lead to problems, but to respect their elders and the messages and the wisdom that their older generation, parents, grandparents, great-grandparents, the wisdom that they have to offer. So this also teaches about finding value in your life all of the time instead of just when you think you're out of time. That's a really important lesson we could all use, in my opinion. And also how rewarding it can be to help others, because that's kind of a theme that develops as Leo is trying to fulfill his bucket list, trying to escape from being the class pet and fulfill his bucket list. So just a fabulous movie, very, very cute. Eric and I laughed our butts off while the grandkids did too. And it was just a great, again, fairly wholesome family movie. Give or take this rude or suggestive material and some language. I think it was like 1 or 2 questionable words that weren't actual cuss words, but don't quote me on that. It's been a few months. But it's absolutely fabulous. It is animated. Again, if you don't have children and you want to watch it, you're like, hey, this sounds fantastic. Shh, I will not tell anybody. I won't tell them that you watched a cartoon without any children present. It's totally okay. So what's the adult appeal on this one? Well, the adult appeal is, and this is even more of a testament. I mean, and not for nothing, but Adam Sandler is pretty fabulous at coming out with some fairly wholesome family movies. Even though some of his other movies would not be necessarily considered wholesome. Adam Sandler was one of the writers for this movie, and he also voices the part of Leo. So for adult appeal, need I say more? Adam Sandler really has a fantastic mind when it comes to entertainment. And I just was really impressed when I knew he voiced it, but I didn't realize that he was one of the writers. So definitely worth checking out. When we watched it, it was on Netflix. I believe I checked and it's still there. So if you have a Netflix subscription, this is definitely something you can watch for free of charge. Homeward Bound, I'm not sure. I forgot to kind of look up and see where you could currently stream that. It may be on Netflix. It may be on some other free movie channels, or you may have to pay a little bit to rent it through somewhere like Vudu. Some of you may actually have it on a DVD or a VHS somewhere hiding in a corner at home. So definitely Leo, that's the newest one on my list. Definitely worth watching with the family over the summer. Has some great messages, some giggles. And like I said, if you're an adult, I won't tell anybody if you watch it, even though you don't have kids present. But definitely worth checking out. Again, that one was Leo, and it came out in 2023. And the class pet is a lizard. Just that way you know when you start looking, because when you type Leo the movie, some things about the astrological sign and stuff come up on Google. Make sure you're getting the right movie. It's an animated movie starring Adam Sandler about a lizard. That's really what it boils down to. All right, so number 3 on my list today is my personal all-time favorite. Well, one of them. Sometimes it's hard to choose a favorite. And this one is from 1985, showing my age, and it is The Goonies. Now, there are going to be some people that may be like, there's some questionable content there. I don't know if I'd let my kid watch it. So just for the basic synopsis is a group of kids go on a treasure hunt. That's really what it boils down to. And they end up saving their homes. It's, I'm not going to go any farther than that. If you have not seen this movie, most certainly you had to have heard of it. And it is incredible. Now, I'll tell you a funny story. I think, 1985. So I was 12, when I saw this movie, and I was visiting my aunt. I was on a 2-day layover on the way to see my grandmother here in Florida from Michigan. And the layover was around the Detroit area. So I was visiting my aunt and her twin boys and her daughter, who was a little bit older than them and a little bit younger than me. And we went to the movies, and the daughter and I wanted to see something else. Couldn't even tell you what it was we wanted to see. No idea. And the twin boys wanted to see The Goonies. It was out in the theaters at the time. And I didn't get to go to the movies a lot, so this was a big deal for me. To go to the movies. I can count on one hand the number of movies I saw as a kid in the theater. Less than one hand, actually. So The Goonies, the movie poster, if you're familiar with it at all, is this big, scary skull with these kids in front of it, and one of them's hanging from from somebody's leg or something like that. I don't remember. So she and I, the daughter and I, my cousin, thought that it looked really scary and we didn't want to see it. But these Twin Boys 1 and 2, and my aunt was like, okay, that's what we're going to go see because we've been doing for the girls all day. We were at this gigantic mall. It was the craziest day I'd ever experienced at that point in my life. So we saw the Goonies. And even though my cousin and I were scared of the movie because it looked scary, when we came out, we absolutely loved it. That movie stuck with me. I thought it was amazing. So I have and I was so excited the first time I got to watch it with my grandson. He was, again, he's 7, so he was a little young, but he still seemed to really enjoy it. So the basic synopsis again, group of kids go on a treasure hunt, save their homes. It is rated PG for violence. That violence is language, adult themes. There's some shooting, there's some robbers, some criminals that the kids have to come up against. There's references to torture, drugs. It is probably more ideal for, I had my daughter's permission to let my grandson watch it. It is probably more ideal for your 10 preteen to teenager range. But that's going to be up to you. My grandson really enjoyed it. I think he enjoys it more every time he gets to watch it. Yes, there's some suggestive material there. Some of it may go over their heads. Some of it may make them ask questions. So if you've not seen it, I'm very, very sorry for you. But definitely watch it ahead of time to determine whether or not you think it's appropriate for your children. But it is a fabulous adventure movie with a soundtrack that's very well done, partly by Cyndi Lauper. It is, like I said, rated PG for violence, language, and adult themes. Common Sense Media rates it for ages 10 plus. The messages, first of all, this group of friends, they bicker, they pick on each other, but they are fiercely loyal to each other, family members, etc. One of the and loyalty to your friends and family, it is fabulous. It shows what real relationships look like. They're not always hunky-dory, right? Sometimes you bicker with your friends, your family members. Sometimes you don't get along, but they are fiercely loyal and they come together when they need to. This movie teaches about being yourself is good enough. And that's actually one of the themes of the movie. That Goonies are good enough. And I'm not going to tell you what Goonies means because you got to watch it to find out if you don't already know. Another one of the messages here is teamwork. They really emphasize the teamwork message here, which is a fabulous thing for kids and sometimes adults to learn. Perseverance and courage. There's definitely some courage displayed in this movie. I even found a LinkedIn article that talks about one of the kids' speeches from this movie. What adults can learn in the form of motivation from that speech, which I thought was fabulous. It talks about good versus evil. It's the quintessential good versus evil. Good almost always wins. And another great message in this movie is that the easy path is seldom the best one. And that comes from that speech I just referenced, which means the more risk you take, the more reward you take. And that's not really, I don't know if it's really a message for a child, but it's something we want to plant because as adults, we tend to become afraid to take a little risk or stick our necks out there out of fear, and we miss great opportunities when we do. I'm not talking about the kind of risks like going and playing in traffic, things like that. You know what I'm talking about. So again, that's where this could be a really big message for adults too. And I would say another message in here is that some treasure is best left untouched or in its natural environment. And all I'm going to say to you is if you've seen it, you know what I'm talking about. Towards the end, that's all I'm going to say, because if you haven't seen it, I'm so sorry. And I don't want to be a spoiler. So, what is the adult appeal here? Some fantastic humor. Again, maybe not totally kid appropriate. Probably not totally kid appropriate. There is a scene where a specific part gets broken off of a statue. And it has to be glued back on, and it's glued back on upside down. So there are some inappropriate themes for younger children. So you have to determine when you're screening this film if your children are old enough to understand those themes, not understand those themes, if it's something that you can talk to them about or something you should just skip until they get a little bit older. What's the adult appeal? Why would you watch it even if you didn't have kids? If you missed this in the 80s and you love pirate ships and treasure hunts and adventure and humor, totally worth the watch. If this is a movie you didn't get to see as a child, you need to go seek it out and find it. Sometimes it's running on TV. Sometimes it's on Netflix. If you can't find it for free somewhere, you can probably find a $3 or $4, maybe $5 streaming rental on it. Excellent, excellent, excellent movie. Again, The Goonies, 1985, rated PG. Okay. The fourth one on my list is Holes. And again, Holes came out in 2003, and it is rated PG for violence, language, and adult themes. Common Sense Media rates it for 10 plus. There are some, there is a little bit of a racial theme in part of the movie. It's, for younger children, they're not going to understand it. For older children that don't already have that context, you may have to explain it to them, or you may screen this movie and decide you're not ready for them to see that. But it is an opportunity to talk about things that used to happen that were not good, and why they were not good, and why they don't happen anymore or aren't supposed to. So with that disclaimer, the basic story is a boy gets wrongly convicted of stealing and ends up at a boys' camp with a dose of destiny. That's my best synopsis of Holes. Again, rated PG for violence, language, and adult themes. Common Sense Media rates it for 10 plus. There are some adult themes in there. The people that do the reviews like to use the word torture, and I think torture is kind of pushing it a little bit. There is a little bit of violence in there, but you don't go to a boys' camp, especially a bad one that ends up getting closed down without, there's a little spoiler for you, without having some violence, right? So important messages in this one, interconnectedness. And this is touched on throughout. It really, interconnectedness and the ripple effects that can be caused or can happen from your choices. And that choices have consequences. Even sometimes with things we can't control, the message here is that how you respond to it can make a huge difference in how it turns out. And I think that is a really important message for kids of all ages. So another message in here is no matter what, even if it's something we can control, no matter what our situation, we can always be kind. And that's a very important message here, and that we should not judge someone or write them off until we know them. There's some good scenes of some basic, what I consider to be normal kid bullying, where kids kind of pick on each other and posture. And again, it's a work camp. But the same kind of thing we see with boys in the wild, in their normal habitat, where they tend to posture and try to figure out who's in charge and all of that. And that's normal. So even though we might not like some of that, it is normal. But this also demonstrates how they can come together despite their initial judgments of each other and work together. Another great message here is, like I said, with the kindness on the same aspect, you don't have to treat others the way they treat you. There's a lot of ways that you can handle that. And again, that your choices have consequences. Another thing that I kind of like about this movie is, I know we're not all a fan, but everything happens for a reason. And that is one of the most fabulous things I think about this movie. And I'll get there in a second. Because again, I don't want any spoiler alerts. If this is something you haven't seen, I don't want to spoil the movie for you. I want to give you just enough information to be like, I need to go check this out before I watch it with my kids or my grandkids and see if this is appropriate for them. My 7-year-old grandson has seen this. I asked for permission. My daughter and I weren't sure if he was going to get it. I think she may have already tried to get him to watch it once, but he was a little bit young. Again, he is 7 going on 8. So he is below the age that Common Sense Media rates it for. But, he's also a little smarter. He seems to comprehend certain concepts a little better. So in that respect, there's some things that I think he can understand, very well. Here's what stuck with him. and this is really important to me because, you know, he had a rough first year at the big school. A lot of kids do. So this was really important. So for a short time there, he was in trouble quite a bit. And here's what stuck with him out of all of the different content and themes in the movie and stories and goings on. What stuck with him was something that is said towards the beginning of the movie. And it's a quote from one of the characters, which is played by Henry Winkler. Now, if you don't know who that is, you definitely need to see this movie. Maybe Google first. For those of you that do know who Henry Winkler is, you may be like, what? I didn't know he had this movie. He does have a supporting role in this movie. You mostly see him at the beginning, at the end, and the end. But there's a quote from him, and this is what sticks with my grandson. And my daughter actually told me about this a couple weeks ago, and this is what kind of put me in mind to start working on this particular topic, which is you may have done some bad, everybody makes mistakes. You may have done some bad things, but that doesn't mean you're a bad kid. I think that's a really important lesson for a lot of kids to learn, is that mistakes are mistakes and are not necessarily who they are. You know what? Not for nothing. I know some adults that could use that message. And I know not that long ago, that message was important to me too. So, I'm going to start tearing up. So, what is the adult appeal about this movie? Everything is connected. It's amazing the way they connect everything at the end. It's definitely worth the watch just for that alone. But you got to pay attention. You got to pay attention because there's 3 or 4 different storylines going on, some flashbacks, and everything just ties together in a nice, neat little bow at the end, which I think is fabulous. So what is the adult appeal? Everything is connected. There's some great adult humor. There's a great cast. This cast is fabulous. The actors, even the kids, are amazing. They even ended up kind of doing their own music video out of this movie. And yes, if you're anything like me, it's going to be a tearjerker. Have some tissues for the end because the end is going to blow your mind. Okay, last and final, one of my 5 favorites for today. I know I'm running a little bit long. I was a little bit late too. So, is The Princess Bride from 1987. This one's rated PG for violence. Again, content that may disturb children. Apparently the movies I picked seem to have a theme of torture. It's set in medieval times, so there's torture devices, and one of the main characters gets put on a machine that's going to stretch him out or make him scream or something like that. It's within context, okay? So again, I can't emphasize this enough. If you haven't seen it, you're not sure, screen it first before you decide whether or not it's appropriate for your kids. Trust me, even as an adult, if you're watching it without your kids first, it's totally worth it. So The Princess Bride, 1987. Again, some great cast members. If you haven't seen them in a while, it'll blow your mind. It's rated PG for violence, content that may disturb children. There's also some scenes with some giant eels and things like that. So yeah, there's a couple of moments where it could be a little intense, scary for younger children. Princess Bride I have not watched with my grandkids. I need to ask my daughter if she's watched this one with her grandkids. Remember, I said there was one on this list that I haven't watched recently. Because I'm just not sure, because it starts out kind of being romance-based. I'm not sure that this is really going to be up my grandson's alley, or if my granddaughter's quite ready for this either. And I always let the parents decide. I always check first before I watch something that we haven't seen before to make sure it's okay. So again, Common Sense Media rates this one at 9+, which surprises me, because I would rate this one for a higher age than Holes or The Goonies, to be honest with you. And they had those rated at 10+. So what does it teach? It teaches you to spend time with your grandparents because they're wise and they're important. The whole movie starts out with, and I didn't do a synopsis on this one, but it's called The Princess Bride. So just trust me, there's adventure. There's a bride, a princess that's supposed to get married. You get the idea. And it's set in medieval times, so there's sword fighting and there's all kinds of silly stuff going on. It stars Carrie Elwes. So there's some very sarcastic, subliminal adult humor in this movie that is definitely to be appreciated. But it teaches you to spend time with your grandparents. It starts out as a story that a grandfather is reading to his grandson. And the grandson's like, I don't want, because he's sick, he's homesick. And he's like, I don't want grandpa to come over. He's going to pinch my cheek. So again, it teaches how important spending time with our grandparents, the elders in our family are, and learning from their wisdom. It also teaches to keep going even when life is unfair, and that life is sometimes unfair. In fact, there's a specific quote that refers to, if anybody tells you anything different, they're selling something. And that's the truth. So I love that message. But the more important part of that message is that you keep going even when life is unfair. That's a super important message that we can all use, to find fun in everything you do. Billy Crystal is in this movie. If you can't at least find fun in his scene, let me just tell you, but to find fun in everything you do, that love usually wins. It says love always wins, but, as adults, we probably know there's times that it doesn't. But it's okay to let the kids think that, and it's okay for us to believe that, right? Because we are more likely to love properly when we believe that. So love wins, friendship matters. Also, what I like about this is love languages are different. All I'm going to say to you is that there is a character in the movie that every time they want to say, I love you, they say, as you wish instead. And that is just a tiny example of how different things that you say can still equate to I love you. Kind of like if you've ever seen the meme that goes around on Facebook about if you are different ways to say I love you, drive safe, did you eat yet, that type of thing. So it teaches that love languages are different for everybody. It teaches not to lie and that revenge is not the answer. So these, again, are great messages for kids of all ages. And what is the adult appeal here? Again, the humor and satire in this movie is just fabulous. If you haven't already seen it or you haven't seen it in a long time, I heavily encourage, just watch it. Trust me, watch it. Most people I've ever met, once they've seen it, if they hadn't, they love it. And then for this particular one, like I said, teenagers might actually enjoy this one a little bit more than younger kids because of the type of action and because of the humor. So again, I can't stress enough, any of these movies, if you're not sure, screen them ahead of time. Make sure you're okay with your kids watching them. It's okay to watch cartoons if you're an adult. If you don't have kids in the room, I won't tell anybody. And remember these things. There are some great new movies out there, but don't forget the classics, as most of these in my list were. It's good to limit screen time. Yes, even for you, for your wellness. But a movie is a great way to escape the heat in the hottest part of the day. So kids can play outside. It's getting a little warm. You can retreat inside for an afternoon nap and movie time, right? And a friend of mine is actually doing a theme every night with her child over the summer. Every night has a theme. I think they're repeating the same things week after week. And one of them is a movie night where they get the popcorn and he gets to pick a movie, or they take turns picking a movie and they get the popcorn and they make it a movie night at home. So something to think about if you're looking for a way to mix things up or change things up while your kids are out of school for the summer or just for you. And I hope you found this helpful. I ran a little longer than I intended to, but you know, when I start trailing off on these stories, it's a bit on the lighter side today. I hope you enjoyed that. I could go all day because there are so many great movies. But y'all don't want to hear me talk about movies for hours. So instead, drop a comment with your favorite family movies so that maybe we can all get some tips. And I'm going to drop a link to, I don't know what I did with it, 50 best summer family movies according to cherish365.com. There are some great old ones, some great newer ones here. 50 best summer movies for you to start checking out on your own. With that said, I hope you have a fabulous day. I hope you're having a fabulous summer break with your kids, grandkids, nieces, nephews, neighbors, whatever the case may be. I will see you next Wednesday. Have a fabulous Wednesday and be well. Bye. Oh, don't forget to share if you found this helpful and you think it'll help somebody else. Bye.